Okay.
So,
Well, I just sprinted from St. Pat's.
You made it.
I brought the trail.
You're not
Yeah.
even breathing, you're not even breathing,
Well, we'll see if we get,
I'm impressed.
Yeah, it's about, my daughter's a financial officer.
alrighty, it is 5 o'clock. We will go ahead and begin this meeting of the Kokomo City Board of Zoning Appeals. If you do have a cell phone, we would ask that you turn that on silent, please. And then we invite you to stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Our first item on the agenda this evening is the approval of the minutes from Tuesday, January 3rd, 2023 meeting.
I make a motion, we approve the minutes of January 3rd, 2023 meeting.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you. Okay, before we hear our first case this evening, I will mention to the petitioners this evening that our board is a board of 5 voting members. It takes 3 votes in favor to pass. Tonight, we have 4 of those 5 voting members. So whenever we don't have a full board, I like to mention that to petitioners in case they say, oh, I'd feel better presenting my case to 5 potential votes rather than 4. So if that's your situation, when you come to the microphone, when we call for your case, just, you can ask the board to have your case continued. So at this time, our first case this evening is case P01-V-23. Mr. Sheehan?
Yes, Mr. President, the petition of Raising Cane's Restaurant requesting a variance of 46% to section 6.48E, parking in front of a primary structure in C2 zone within the community center overlay. This is 1728 East Norcold Avenue.
Do I have a motion on this case?
I make a motion, we approve case number P-01-B-23 and adopt the findings of petitioners, those of the board, and make those findings part of the record.
Second.
All right, thank you. Have any board members had any ex parte communication regarding this case? Okay, thank you. Whoever's representing this case, if you'd please step to the microphone, give us your name and your address for the record. Just in a nutshell, tell us what it is you're wanting to do.
Sure. Debbie Stoss with Premier Design Group, 100 Midland Park Drive, Winsville, Missouri, 63385. And basically, as you can see, as you said, we're looking for a parking variance. The city requires drive-throughs to be behind and on the side of the building. Well, in that case, we have really nowhere else to go in our zoning with a double street frontage, unless we go out to the front with our parking. So, as I said, and as the application shows, we're just looking for that variance, and looking at the surrounding properties, they have the same type of scenario where the parking is located in the front, and the existing building there is kind of the same way, with the parking located in front of the primary structure.
Okay. Thank you.
I will say that, just so the board knows, they certainly have a practical difficulty because of how the building is set, and again, on a corner lot with the drive-through. As we've had other cases in the past, it's almost impossible, especially on a lot with 2 road frontages, to be able to keep the parking down to 25% in the front. So this is one of those situations.
Are you using the existing building?
No, the building that is there will come down. We'll build a new building.
And the drive-through will be on the north side and the west?
Yeah, on the north and west sides.
Okay. Do you have a copy of your findings there?
Yes.
You'll go ahead and read those into the record?
Sure. The approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. The variance will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. The requested variance will mimic the surrounding properties which have more than 25% of their parking located in front of the primary structure. Number 2, The use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. The use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. The adjoining properties are of the same zoning and have a similar parking layouts where more than 25% of the parking is located in front of the primary structure. Number 3, the strict application of the terms of this zoning ordinance will result in a practical difficulty. This situation shall not be self-imposed nor be based on a perceived reduction or restriction of economic gain. The zoning ordinance does not permit drive-through lanes to be located along street frontages. In order to meet those requirements, more than 25% of the parking needs to be located in front of the primary structure, as the subject property is a double frontage lot. We feel the parking in front of the structure is less intrusive to the adjoining properties comparative to a drive-through lane. In addition, if parking were to be provided at the rear of the building, hazards will be created due to pedestrians needing to cross the drive-through lanes in order to enter the building. Raising Cane's respectfully request relief of the 25% max parking allowance required in the zoning code. As stated above, this property has 2 street frontages. While working effortlessly with the staff to design a site-compliant layout, the double frontage created some design obstacles. We have successfully positioned the drive-through and associated stacking at the rear and sides of the property along the building prominence with appealing aesthetic street facing. Parking is adjacent to the right-of-way and greater than code allows. However, this layout minimizes visual impact of the parking at the front. Please note that this is a redevelopment site with an existing non-compliant parking lot.
All right, thank you very much. We'll go ahead, Mr. Sheeline, and have the staff findings next.
Yeah, staff findings for case P01V23. The approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. The requested variance for parking will not be injurious to the surrounding community. Petitioner will still meet all setback standards. The proposed variance will not block vision or impede on any street, property line, or right-of-way. The use and value of this area adjacent to the property, including the variance, will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. Granting the requested variance will not have an impact on surrounding properties. Parking will still be fully contained on the subject property. The surrounding area has several legally non-conforming parking lots that place most or all parking in front of the building, making it an aesthetic match for the area. The strict application of the terms of this zoning ordinance will result in a practical difficulty. This situation shall not be self-imposed, nor be based on a perceived reduction of or restriction of economic gain. The petitioners face a practical difficulty as the facility will be a drive-through restaurant on a corner lot. The drive-through may not be located along a street frontage, but as a corner lot, the petitioners have 2 street frontages to avoid instead of 1. At the staff's request, the petitioners located the drive-through to the rear and side of the restaurant to avoid the street frontages. This limits the area available for parking, as it is hazardous to ask patrons to cross the drive-through lanes. Thus, the staff supports granting this variance for the parking.
Okay, thank you. Having heard both the petitioner's findings and the staff findings, do any board members have any questions for either the petitioner or Mr. Sheeline?
When they flip this, does this mean they're gonna move the curb cut down here, or is this marked wrong? This is marked.
Do what? I'm sorry.
They got, the old Lincolns had 2. Is this marked one here on this?
Yes, correct.
This is marked one, not this.
Correct.
So that means the existing curb cut wouldn't work.
Any other questions from the board? Is there anyone in the audience wishing to be heard regarding this case? Anything you'd like to add?
No, we're looking forward to building here and being a part of the community.
Okay. Good deal. Well, we do have a motion and a second for the approval of case P01-V-23. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Congratulations. Okay, our next case this evening, Mr. Sheeline?
Yes, this case is P01-SE23, petition of Rick Singh requesting a special exception of 46% per section 3.19 for dwelling, multifamily 17 units or more in an M2 zone. This is at 2331 West Lincoln Road Avenue.
Do I have a motion on this case?
I move that we approve case number P01-SE-23 and adopt the findings of the petitioner as those of the board and make those findings part of the record.
Second.
All right, thank you. Have any board members had any ex parte communication on this case? Okay, if our petitioner could step to the microphone, please, and give us your name, address, and all the good stuff.
My name is Kevin Steely with Terra Site Development. Address is 16102 Spring Mill Road in Westfield, 46074. Do I go ahead right now? Would you like me to read the findings, or?
Well, if you're first, maybe
Brief.
just kind of tell us what brings you
Yes.
here, and then we'll have you read the findings.
This is a 3.17 acre, kind of an L-shaped property behind Dr. Ladd's office on Lincoln at Dixon at that corner. And this is currently zoned for M2 residential. And so we're proposing 10 duplex buildings, which would be 20 units. And because it's over 16, we need to come before you for a special exception because we want 17 or more units on that property.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and if you want to go ahead and read your findings.
Okay. Letter A, the proposal will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community because the allowance of 20 dwelling units on this cul-de-sac will not create traffic safety concerns or to other uses in the vicinity. No commercial use of questionable morals is proposed on the property. Housing generates income for the community. Letter B, the requirements and development standards for the requested use as prescribed in the zoning ordinance will be met. The buildings meet the minimum requirements for front and side setback requirements for this zoning district because the allowance of 20 dwelling units is a complement to the residential component of the development. The maximum density for the zoning is 24. That's a typo in your notes, and that's my fault. I apologize. It's 24 units per acre. The development is proposing 6.3 units per acre. All the other setbacks, dimensions, lot coverage, and floor area requirements are met. Letter C, the granting of the exception will not subvert the general purposes served by the zoning ordinance and will not permanently injure other property or uses in the same district and vicinity because the M2 zoning is intended for multifamily residential use. Adjacent zonings include OC, M1, IS, and M2. No injury to other uses in the vicinity are expected by allowing 20 dwelling units. The proposed use will be consistent with the character of the district therein, the spirit and intent of the zoning ordinance, and the Kokomo Comprehensive Plan. The allowance of 20 dwelling units is consistent with the character of the M2 multifamily residential district as medium to high-density housing.
All right, thank you. Jessica, do you mind, did you catch that on point B, if you can make sure in the notes? I appreciate it. Powerhouse. Thank you. Mr. Sheehan, do you want to go ahead and read your staff's findings?
Staff findings for case P01 SE23, the proposal will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. The proposed brand-new 20-unit development will not cause injury to the welfare of the community. There are no safety hazards associated with this project. The 10 two-unit buildings will be built from the ground up. The requirements and development standards for the requested use as prescribed by this zoning ordinance will be met. The buildings meet the minimum requirements for front and side setback requirements in the zoning district. The new development will meet all development standards, including setbacks, parking, minimum square footage, and density per acre. The granting of the exception will not subvert the general purposes served by this zoning ordinance and will not permanently injure other property or uses in the same district and vicinity. The area is currently a mixture of office, commercial, residential, and institutional uses. The character of an area with such mixed uses will not be negatively impacted or injured by the addition of 20 dwelling units. The infilling of the current vacant lot will add value to the area. The proposed use will be consistent with the character of the district therein, the spirit and intent of the zoning ordinance, and the Kokomo Comprehensive Plan. According to the City of Kokomo Comprehensive Plan, this area should be used for low and medium density residential uses. with the mixed-use atmosphere of the area, this housing development will fit the spirit and aesthetics of the area.
All right, thank you very much. Having heard the findings from the petitioner and the staff, do any board members have questions for the petitioner? Mr. Sheehan?
If I understand, this is a private drive,
Yes, sir, that's correct.
and with a private access, you're gonna come off of Dixon, is that the plan?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Since it's a rental, not gonna have a homeowners association, how are you gonna take care of the snow and the trash and all that stuff? How's that gonna be addressed?
The snow removal will be privately contracted. I did speak with Rick Singh in the last week, and he explained that trash collection he would handle as part of the rent for each unit. That way, everybody was getting picked up, and it was not up to the individual renter whether or not their trash was picked up.
Okay. I spent 2 hours making notes for this meeting today, and they're laying in front of my computer at home. No idea. Streets access. I think that's all I need right now.
Would you like us to take a recess so you can run home?
No.
No, good. 2 hours worth of notes, that's. Anyone else have anything right off? Okay, is there anyone in the audience wishing to be heard regarding this case? Okay, if you'd step to the microphone, we'll have you state your name and address.
My name is Carol Croxford. I live at 2701 Executive Court. I am president of the homeowners association behind this. My first question would be, have any of you been out there to look at this area, to see how large it is, to put in 20 units? 3.17 acres, more or less, is too small for 17 units. The developer wants to cram 20 units, a street with a turnaround, and a detention pond in this small area. All of this would be wedged between our condos and the doctor's office. As residents living behind this proposed development, we are asking that this spatial exception be denied, that it be limited to no more than 17 units. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience wishing to be heard on this case?
Mr. Chairman, these all one-story units?
Yes, they are.
Thank you.
In full disclosure, I did want to bring forward to the board that we did get a letter from one of the residents, Cynthia Bennell, I believe is how her last name. She lives at 2208 Executive Drive. She had the same concern that the lady that just left the microphone did. She is asking the board to keep the units at 17 or less. I just wanted to put that in the record as full disclosure.
But with this setup, all the setbacks and everything are correct?
Yes, and all that will be looked at our next meeting on the 14th, correct?
Which would address some of the questions brought up in this message about drainage and maintenance and
Correct.
things like that. Okay, anyone else in the audience? Okay, if you'd step to the microphone, give us your name and address, please.
Whoops, got this thing here. Hi, my name is Russell Dance. I live at 2300 Executive Drive, and I have a question about the trash. Now, will they have a central trash place, or will they have individual trash cans?
If you'll step to the microphone and answer that.
They are going to each have their own rolling bin, and that's going to be paid for as part of their rent.
Okay, so there's not going to be a central location?
No central dumpster.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, any questions at this point from the board? Anything you'd like to add before we take it to a vote?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you. So we do have a motion and a second for the approval of case P01-SE-23. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. carries. Our next case, Mr. Sheila.
This case is PO 2-SE-23, the petition of Jonathan Yates for Diamond Communications, requesting a special exception per section 3.35 for an above-ground utility facility in the C2 zone in the minor industrial center overlay. This is a lot east of 1800 East Havens Court.
I have a motion on this case.
I make a motion we approve case number P02-SE-23 and adopt the findings of petitioners of the board and make those findings part of the record.
Second.
Thank you both. Have any board members had any ex parte communication on this one? No, okay, thank you. So whoever's representing this case, if you'll step forward and give us all the fun details, your name and address, et cetera.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jonathan Yates, 105 Broad Street, Charleston, South Carolina. Good to be with you this afternoon. I talked to Mr. Sheline briefly as I came in, but I have to tell this board, I do this work sort of around the country, particularly in the southeast.
You need to speak up so everybody can hear this, please.
Can you hear us?
Just kidding. We don't get too many compliments.
Well, what I want to say, I work with a lot of planning departments and zone departments, but what I do not get to work with is what I work with here. The incredible guidance and kindness from Victoria to Jessica. I asked 101 stupid questions. They never laughed at me, or at least till they hung up the phone. But no, I just have to tell you, Ms. Sheline, they're a credit,
I
a
appreciate
real
that.
credit to you and the city.
We have a good staff. I appreciate that.
And I thank you.
Thank you.
They got this idiot through the process. That takes a lot of work.
Well, I'll tell you, I've heard many compliments over the years on the staff and their willingness to help people, so.
Not the director, just the staff.
Well, sometimes the director as well.
That
so-
guy,
but
that
thank
guy.
you- Thank you for sharing that.
I'm here tonight with Pat McGavick. What we're proposing tonight, this is a wireless communication facility designed for AT&T and 2 additional broadband carriers. Pat has a piece of property, 2 pieces of property actually. We're on one of Pat's property. If you go out 931, you have McGavick Outdoor Power Equipment. The purpose of this facility is for AT&T and 2 additional broadband carriers. It's what we call a monopole style tower. Monopole is just like a pylon that you have in front of a Walmart or fast food place, except ours is a lot thicker, and we hang communication equipment from it. What I also wanted to bring up on this one, not only is it designed for AT&T, they'll be deploying their FirstNet, the First Responder Network Authority. With the permission of the chair, I was just going to give a little handout to the board if I may.
Thanks, sir.
This just gives you a little background on FirstNet. So we will have AT&T, which is people, wireless voice and broadband. But in addition, they will be deploying the First Responder Network Authority from this facility. Little background on a facility like this. We have a 70 by 78 foot compound that'll be secured with a 6-foot fence topped with 3 strands of barbed wires and anti-climbing device. Depending on weather, it takes about 45 to 60 days to construct the facility. After that, AT&T just comes out a little less than once a month. Most of the equipment is operated remotely and monitored remotely. And the beauty of this facility, we are not going to create any noise, odor, vibration, fume, or glare on the rest of Pat's property. So real important, what we're talking about is wireless voice and broadband, what we call the fourth utility or 21st century infrastructure. AT&T has a deficit in that area that they want to cover, and Pat's property worked out very nicely to meet their network objectives. I'm here for any and all questions, and if you would like, whenever appropriate, I'll read my findings.
Okay. Any questions from the board at this point? Okay, we'll go ahead and have you read your findings.
And for this, as I'm getting old, I will whip out my glasses. Petitioner's findings of fact. Number A, the proposal will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. Petitioner's answer. The proposed facility will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. The proposed facility will allow AT&T to provide effective voice and broadband coverage to the surrounding community. The facility will help provide effective access to 911 first responders, fire, police, and EMS. After a 45 to 60-day building period, the proposed facility will only be visited by AT&T approximately once a month. The proposed facility will not generate any off-site noise, odors, vibration, lights, fumes, or glare. Petitioner's finding of fact number B, the requirement and development standards for the requested use as prescribed by this zoning ordinance will be met. The buildings meet the minimum requirements for front and side setbacks requirements on this zoning district. Petitioner's response, the proposed facility meets all the requirements in 6.55 telecommunications facility standards, TC, as shown on the attached narrative, and that's that huge book that I put in. C, the granting of the exception will not subvert the general purposes served by the zoning ordinance and will not permanently injure other properties or uses in the same district and vicinity. Petitioner's response, the proposed facility will not subvert the general purposes served by the zoning ordinance and will not permanently injure other property or uses in the same district or vicinity. The proposed facility meets the requirements of the zoning ordinance and is designed to support the wireless needs of those living, working, or traveling through the surrounding area. Effective wireless infrastructure has been shown to be a benefit to nearby properties. D, the proposed use will be consistent with the character of the district they're in, the spirit and intent of the zoning ordinance, and the Kokomo Comprehensive Plan. Petitioner's response, the McGavick Outdoor Power Equipment property presents a perfect spot for the proposed facility due to its strategic location, zoning, and the surrounding uses. The proposed facility is clearly consistent with the character of the district and the spirit and intent of the zoning ordinance and the comprehensive plan. Please see the attached narrative, which reviews compliance with the zoning ordinance. The city of First deserves the most robust wireless coverage possible throughout the city. I'm here for any and all questions.
All right, thank you. Mr. Sheehan?
Staff findings for case PO2 SE 23, proposal will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. The proposed cell tower will not create any safety hazards and will not harm the general welfare of the community. Rather, it will help improve cellular coverage for citizens and first responders in our community. The tower and small compound will be built new from the ground up to a height of 185 feet. The requirements and development standards for the requested use as prescribed by this zoning ordinance will be met. The buildings meet the minimum requirements for front and side setback requirements in the zoning district. The proposed tower meets all development standards for height setbacks and parking, as well as all standards listed in the telecommunication facility standards within the ordinance. The granting of the exception will not subvert the general purposes served by this zoning ordinance and will not permanently injure other property or uses in the same district and vicinity. The new monopole tower will be fully contained on the subject property and will have little impact on the surrounding properties. The proposed use will be consistent with the character of the district therein, the spirit and intent of the zoning ordinance, and the Kokomo Comprehensive Plan. The neighboring properties in this area are all zoned of equal or greater intensity of the subject property as LI, HI, and C2. As such, this use is compatible with the area. It is also compatible with the City of Kokomo Comprehensive Plan, which calls for this area to be used for office, high-tech, and light industrial uses.
Thank you. Any questions from the board at this time?
I have one question just for clarification on item B, Greg. It says front and side setback, but it doesn't say rear. Is there no rear setback?
It's, yeah, there really isn't one, yeah.
The only other question I have, you're going to use the existing Havens Court, and the parking and the pad you're gonna do is what's gonna go off of that, right?
Yes, sir. We'll have a 12-foot gravel access drive that runs about 65 feet off Havens Court.
And what kind of coverage does this, what kind of area does this typically cover, just even a range?
To give you a feel, the closest AT&T site is about 1.5 miles away. So it depends on, the number of users. So about 1.5 miles, so somewhere thereabouts. it's all based on the volume, you know. I don't know what all these folks are doing on their phone, but they're glued to them at all the time.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Is there anyone in the audience wishing to be heard on this case? Okay, we do have a motion for the approval of case P02-SE-23, moved and seconded. All in favor, indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And then our next case,
Yeah, our last case tonight, Mr. President, is case P03-SE-23, petitioner First City Recovery Center, James Whittick, requesting special exception per section 3.27 for a drug alcohol rehabilitation facility in an IS zone. This is at 57 North Armstrong.
do I have a motion regarding this case?
I move that we approve case number P03-SC-23 and adopt the findings of the petitioner as those of the board and make those findings part of the record.
Second.
Thank you both. Okay, whoever's representing this case, if you'd step to the mic and give us your name and address.
My name's Dan Metz. It's 317 West Jefferson, Kokomo, Indiana, 46901. I am James Whittick's business partner and one of the other owners of First City Recovery Centers.
Okay. And so just kind of tell us what it is that brings you here this evening.
Yeah, we are here out of necessity. So 2 years ago, we came to you guys for the initial zoning. We built a detox at 317 West Jefferson. We've been on a waiting list and completely full for the last year, which great that we have that resource here. Unfortunate that that's the condition of things, but across the street, Armstrong Street right there, we're looking to add an additional 10 beds to better serve the community.
So this is an extension of what you're doing right now.
Nothing new. So without this granted, it would be like halfway housing for clients after treatment, but with this granted exception, we're able to treat at the higher level, which is the necessity for the city right now.
Well, they want my other 15 questions, so. Thank you.
Yes.
Impressive. Okay. If you want to go ahead and give us your findings.
Yes, I will. For the findings, the proposal will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. First City Recovery will maintain the building to all fire and life safety codes. We will employ only licensed and approved staff, and the unit will be accredited by Joint Commission. Our building will be monitored 24/7 by a closed-circuit camera system and will also be monitored 24/7, which will also be monitored 24/7. We have a corporate maintenance program that our new building will operate in with accordance with checks to all fire, life, and safety issues and documented appropriately. The requirements and development standards for the requested use, your use as prescribed by the zoning ordinance will be met. The buildings meet the minimum requirement for front, side setback requirements on the zoning district. By utilizing the existing building, First City Recovery Center has evidenced its ability to comply with all developmental standards. We are familiar with all development standards with zoning specific use definitions, and our first phase of development currently operates within the standards and zoning ordinances we are requesting. C, the granting of the exception will not subvert the general purpose served by the zoning ordinance and will not permanently injure other property or uses in the same district and vicinity. Ensure a positive relationship with neighbors in the community. As an organization that provides service options for people with various disabilities, we recognize the significance of establishing and maintaining positive relationships with our neighbors in the community. Becoming a member of the community is a social contract. Our neighbors' community hold us, our personnel, and our clients accountable to specific standards of behavior, just as we expect the same from our neighbors and community. First City Recovery Center operates as a professional organization that is well maintained and presentable. In keeping with the community standards and following CDC, state, county, and city guidelines, ensure client flow does not oppose the neighborhood community, appropriate security, implement and maintain safety, infection and emergency management protocols, and trash disposal. We strive to preserve and enhance the community's positive character. We expect everyone in our organization to respect the neighborhood, the community, by obeying all laws and community standards and endeavors to consider the neighbor's individual needs as expected of any neighbor. Personnel designated to any neighborhood community concerns, the CEO and program director will respond quickly to any reasonable questions or concerns. We will also respond to neighborhood community concerns and provide contact information of the responsible person whenever requested and encourage neighbors and community to call when or if a problem arises. We ensure that individuals providing support in the organization focus on the safety and well-being of everyone in the community. We welcome opportunities for our neighbors and community to get to know our organization and personnel as they would any other neighbors. For example, while attending a neighborhood event, daily passing by each other and enjoying a break in a common area outside. Sorry, my partner wrote this. This is just quite a bit. The proposed use will be consistent with the character of the district there and the spirit and the intent of the zoning ordinance and the Kokomo Comprehensive Plan. First City Recovery Center ownership and leadership will work hard and hand in hand with the City and Planning Commission Board to maintain good neighbor status. We have significantly improved the aesthetics of the neighborhood and will continue to maintain a residential setting with no signage, lights, or excessive traffic, and we will continue to maintain the adjacent building to keep our beautification process in place.
All right.
I was in a meeting last Tuesday night, and the petitioner's findings were 23 minutes long, so.
Yeah, if you know James, this would be no surprise to you.
Okay, Mr. Sheehan?
Yes, staff findings for PO3 SE 23. The proposal will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. The proposed sober house will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, or general welfare. Some may have moral objections to drug and alcohol abuse, but the sober house exists to help quell the problems and give participants a safe and sober place to begin their recovery. The main facility listed catty corner to the new sober house will provide parking for participants and many other services to aid their recovery. The requirements and development standards for the requested use as prescribed in this zoning ordinance will be met. The buildings meet the minimum requirements for front and side setbacks requirements in the zoning district. The existing building, which received an interior remodel to better meet the needs of the petitioner, meets required square footage and lot coverage standards for the zone. The home is legally non-conforming to setback standards as it was originally built in 1922. Parking facility will be located at the parking lot adjacent to the property. The granting of the exception will not subvert the general purposes served by this zoning ordinance and will not permanently injure other property or uses in the same district and vicinity. The petitioner will have the house monitored 24/7 and will only take admissions for the house between the hours of 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. to minimize traffic during the hours most people will be home. The property will operate mainly as a residence for up to 11 participants, but will offer a nurse's station and staff to assist and monitor participants. There will be at least 2 staff members in the house at all times, with shift changes occurring at 7 a.m., 3 p.m., and 11 p.m. The private nature of the use intended for this property will help ensure that neighboring properties and their owners will not be harmed. The proposed use will be consistent with the character of the district therein, the spirit and intent of this zoning ordinance, and the Kokomo Comprehensive Plan. As this is a residential program for participants with full access to the facility just steps away, the use will be consistent with the character of the neighborhood and the area. The City of Kokomo Comprehensive Plan marks this area for high-density residential uses, which is compatible with the petitioner's plans.
Thank you. All right, any questions from the board at this time?
Greg, what's the current zoning?
I believe, do you remember, Jess? It's R3 or R4, the current zoning,
R4.
R4.
So we're rezoning to institutional
We are rezoning.
next week?
Yes,
So should we make the motion contingent to approval of the rezoning?
yeah, we should.
Okay.
Yeah, we should.
Consult with council. Council, should we, oh wait,
I think we should.
we'll take your word.
Yeah.
I'm making it contingent on.
So basically, right now, it's R4, and so the motion should be contingent upon approval by the Plan Commission, or approval of the rezoning to institutional IS.
Okay. I move that we approve case number P03SE23 contingent upon the R4 changing to
IS.
IS.
Institutional, yes.
institutional, and adopt the findings of the petitioner as those of the board and make those findings part of the record.
I'll second that.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes, thank you both. So what's kind of the average, I know there's not such a thing probably as average, but the stay of a client?
So that residential program is between 14 and 28 days, average probably 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the clients themselves aren't, they don't have vehicles there? Or some do?
Some do, very few do. We have 25 parking spaces there, and 3 of them are residents. More frequently than not, a significant other, wife, mom, dad drops them off.
Sure,
A car's a AMA risk, so we try to keep their cars not there.
sure. All right, thank you. Okay, any other questions? Anyone in the audience wishing to be heard regarding this case?
Better not.
Okay, we do have a revised good motion in favor of case P 03-SE-23. And the second, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Congratulations. Is there any other business to be brought before the board this evening?
I have no other business tonight, Mr. President.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded to adjourn, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed to that? No. All right, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. TJ, thanks for